How's it going? Linbow Knife and Tool here. My name is Cole. Today I'm going to be talking about my overall experience and impressions of Spyderco's Maxamet steel. This is my first knife that I had with Maxamet steel, and my only knife that I have with Maxamet steel, Spyderco PM2. And the reason I got this one over the Para 3, because I had the ability to get, well, all of the regular ones, plus the Para 3 and Para 2 were in stock or River's Edge color. I got the PM2 just because I wanted the more blade length, and the carryability of the Para 3 over the PM2 isn't really that much of a difference because they're practically the same height. You know, like from my index finger to my thumb, they're practically the same height, and all my pockets are pretty long anyway. So if I need a pretty carryable knife, I need it to be slim as well. So that's not exactly a factor to me as height or length of the handle. But anyway, I got the PM2, and as you can see, I really sharpened it down, or I lowered the angles, and it's pretty asymmetrical on both sides because I do freehand sharpen, and I don't swap hands, even though I know I should. I don't swap hands, I just sharpen like this. But the edge I have on there was put on with a wicked edge. Gosh, focus. Was put on with a wicked edge, so you can see that it kind of swoops up near the tip. That's just the very edge, and I think it's a little under 40 degrees inclusive, something like that. I usually use the WorkSharp guided sharpening system to just put a 20-degree per side edge on. But today I'm going to be talking about obviously just my experiences with Maxamet, dispelling some myths that I have heard about Maxamet. Not really myths, I guess they're not exactly myths, it's other people's experiences with Maxamet that I have had myself but then alleviated, and other stuff like that. So the first thing that people say usually is that Maxamet is chippy, or that it has low edge stability, stuff like that, because they see the high Rockwell hardness and they see the carbide volume of this, and they know that they kind of just make an interpolation that's going to be the case, and generally it is the case. Maxamet has the same carbide volume, or within a percentage of the same carbide volume as CTS XHP, but these are run from 67 to 69 Rockwell. You've seen J. Cool G Rockwell test a lot of these Golden Colorado Maxamet knives, so you would assume that they're all within the same range. So if it's super hard, then that must mean it's super chippy, but that's not exactly the case. This is a lot harder, but it does increase its yield strength. It makes it to where it's harder for this knife to, say, bend out of place or even move in the first place. It has a very high strength, and this is a steel for sure that you will chip out, as opposed to blunting or rolling or even really dulling, that you're mostly going to be just chipping this edge out, or you know, smacking it into stuff if you're cutting cardboard, or I often just, I don't know, cut a little too far and actually hit something or whatever, and that will dull your blade. So so that's sort of my experience with the toughness and edge stability, is that it's fine. It works pretty well. I carve through, just to get the feel of it, I carve through tons and tons of wood with this knife, with a 17 degree per side edge and a 20 degrees per side edge. And the 17 degree per side edge wasn't you couldn't see the chips, but you could feel them with your thumbnail, and if you took like a jeweler's loupe or something, you could see, you know, tiny little, they look like micro serrations, and I'm sure it made it cut through cardboard like a monster, but it wasn't super, I wasn't liking that the wood was making it do that. And I'm not somebody who cuts stuff super precisely. I'm not, you know, I don't have that much control over the blade, you know, so I wasn't keeping it completely perpendicular. I was tweaking it a little bit, but once I switched to a 20 degree per side edge, that's when I wasn't getting any problems like that at all, and the edge of tension was just staying perfect after carving tons and tons of wood. So overall, the steel is pretty impractical for me get out of here, kitty. This steel is pretty impractical for me because it has such a high carbide volume and it's at such a high hardness that it's really not a steel that is really conducive to everyday carry, in my opinion, because I do often dull my my cat's chasing a fly, so I guess you guys are gonna have to excuse that. But it's not conducive to my carry needs, because what I do is most of my carry or most of my job is cutting plastics and stuff inside of crawl spaces. So if I'm like hitting a little piece of concrete or something after I'm cutting my plastic, like it'll just dull any knife at all, like completely any knife. So it really doesn't matter for me, and that's most of my dulling anyway. So I could carry a 52-100. Let's see, I could carry a 52-100 PM2 and feel the same results as a Maxamet. This one is reground, but and feel the same results as Maxamet because this has a higher toughness. I might even find this to be a little bit better for wood carving and all of my other tasks like that, because the materials that I'm cutting aren't very dirty really to begin with, and if they are dirty, I think this, if I was cutting carpet or dirty carpet or something like that, this would still chip out as readily if it's running into particulate and stuff inside the carpet. My next point is that Maxamet isn't the best platform for the PM2, I would say. I would say the PM2, the steel on it should be a little bit higher toughness, just raw toughness, like a 4V type steel, M4 type steel, low carbide volume, because of this super fine tip. And I've pretty much broken all of the tips on all of my PM2s just because this is a tile floor and I have knives in my lap and I stand up with them, and sometimes they hit the ground, shoot open, the detent shoots open and the tips will just chip off. So that's my own fault. But just as far as like overall steel for this application, I feel like an M4 or 4V would be the best steel for this. This is super raw toughness. This is just like, iron, chromium, and carbon. It's like super simple, 1% carbon, 1% chromium, and supposed to be, super tough. Obviously not like a tip flexing like I was just attempting to do. That was kind of dumb, but it needs a little bit more edge retention, in my opinion, than just 52-100 does provide, because I do, cut cardboard just to dull my knives. I do a lot of stuff like that specifically. That does slow wear, so I think an M4 would just be the perfect balance of the steel. But this handle design is what specifically what I'm talking about. So I think the Manix 2 lightweight, the Native 5 lightweight, and I think it might be a Chaparral or a Sage 1 or something like that that's coming out in Maxamet. I think those are smarter design platforms for this, for pure slicers, as opposed to overall EDC knives that might be doing more than just cutting up and down. But that's my overall spiel about Maxamet and my experience with it. Thank you guys for watching. I will be doing more videos about knives, knife related stuff, knives that I'm making and stuff like that later on the channel, but I thought that this would be a nice introductory video and a good addition to the library of knowledge on Maxamet on YouTube. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're interested, and thank you.